Hey guys, it's been a long month, and I mean really long month. We've been in directive 16 lockdown and back to 15 and then 16, 15 plus, and basically we're locked down for COVID, and it's like a whole month, actually more than a month. But this one month is in particular is rough, and the weather has been pretty rough as well. It's been raining and cloudy. I was gonna do a video with my friends, go fishing for lizard sking, and that didn't happen because the weather's pretty bad. And so, I've been just staying home for the past month now, over a month now. Haven't done anything, but today I'm gonna feed my worm. I have two worm bin. I started out with my dog house actually, right? So I have I created this for my dog. So we have my dog. This is my dog house, and then I have this one as a storage. So this is stacked on top of this right here, and it was just a storage. So we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. Okay, so this is just a dog house with storage on top. Lola, out. Lola, come here, come here, come on. This is my dog. Good girl. And so she live in there, and I have the screen, like the mosquito screen, all covered up, so she can live in there, and mosquito won't get in. She's pretty good, right? So inside, Lola, inside. Good girl. So that's her house, and so anyway, I'm gonna show you right now. So we have one worm bin here. This worm bin I started just recently, like about maybe over 2 months now, like maybe close to 3 months or maybe around 3 months. And this worm bin I bought a starter kit online. They supposed to have decent amount of worm, but then when I got it, I only have like 3 worm. And then I called them up. I said, hey, there's not many worm in here. It's just 3 worm. And then they say, no, there's some eggs, and there's eggs in there, a lot of eggs. So just keep watering it, and just keep growing it. And so like 3 months passed by, like 2.5 months or 3 months now passed by, and I don't see any worm that are growing. So there's still 3 in there, and then all the other one is because I believe there might be my red wriggler, because I actually got some of the bedding from my red wriggler and put it there, and then I put those worm in. So I don't know, those small worm or red wriggler, or they're like I don't know what they call in English, but then Vietnamese they call them jumway. It's a type of worm, jumway, right? And I don't know if they're night crawler or what, but I'll show you in a little bit. But I only have three of them there. They grow to the size of like a chopstick, right? This as long as chopstick, as big as chopstick. So they're in here. This is the red wriggler. Okay, they're in here, and there's a lot of them in here. And it used to be a lot more, but I think half of the population died just because of my mistake. And I'm going to share with you later on about that. I'm going to feed them right now. And then I'm gonna come back and talk to you some more, giving you tips on how you could start your worm bin, or how you could grow your worm bin like the easy way. Okay, I mean I am the low maintenance guys. I like simple. I want to simplify things, and I don't want to do things that complicate even more than what it should be, right? And also, like, if it requires so much, I don't want to do it. I don't want to maintain something that requires so much of me. I'm not lazy. I just don't want to waste my time with it. So I want to do it the easiest way. So I'm going to show you the easiest way I'm doing it, and then I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are going to probably save you hundreds of worm that could possibly die when you first start out. Because I grow this worm bin is probably around like half a year to, I think maybe even 9 months, like 8 months or so. And during that process, I have a lot of up and down. And I'm telling you, half of the population with in my worm bin died. And that was the biggest mistake. And I'm going to share that story with you later. But okay, so this is just storage. So I'm going to take this thing down. So here is, I don't know if you can see that. But anyway, I'm gonna put this aside because there's nothing much to see here, because this is just a there's just a few worms. So I'm gonna put this aside, and this it's just, you know, they have holes in here, so I mean, so you know, it's just work like a vent, and I use this to separate those, you know, so they vent, give it some vent, and also a separation so I can stack them on top, save some space. I used to have them side, you know, like on a bench, this one and that one, you know, on a bench. But then I decided to stack them up, make it more, you know, organized and more compact. So, okay, so now here we're gonna check out what we got in here, okay? So here's where my worm is at, so I'm gonna show you that. Okay, so, okay. This is my worm bin, and you can see there's a bunch of snail or slug or whatever in here. Right, really tiny little one. And I used, you know, when they're overpopulating, I would kill them. But, you know, you don't really need to kill them unless they become a problem. And, you know, there's also like roly-poly in there as well. You know, so look, it's nice and moist. I don't have any water in it, but look at it, it's nice and moist. You know, it's moist, and look at that, all that worm, look at that. See that? So, there's nothing yet. I'm gonna dig in more, and you're gonna see I have quite a bit in here. Okay. Okay, so this is just the peak of it, sneak peek, right? I'm gonna show you because I know they're in the corner, they're all along like the side. For some reason, that's where they hide. I don't know. So I'm gonna show you, watch. I'm pretty sure, look at that. Look at that. All that. See? So this is a pretty healthy sign, because look at how active they are. They're moving. You know, if your worm is not moving, then there's a problem. There's something wrong with your bin. See, it's nice and moist, right? Look at this. Okay. Look at that. And I thought that these are like, they're pretty small, little thin, but like they actually grew. They grew, and it took a while, but they grew. I mean, they multiplying like crazy. So these are like, look at that. This one is pretty good size. Well, we got a lot here going on. Look at this guy. This guy is nice and thick. This one is good for fishing, you know, because you want something about that size. And you know, with the red wriggler, I mean, we're not catching big gigantic fish or anything like that. We'll probably catch some small fish and like climbing perch and stuff like that, you know. Oh, and they're also good for prawns, prawn fishing. Fishing for prawns would be good too, like red wriggler. Okay. Let me see, how much more do we have here? So you look at this, it's nice and moist. I never put any water in here, you know. Okay, look at this guy, that's pretty good. Okay. They're pretty wet. And that's because the thing that I feed them kitchen scrap. And you know, like all the leftover, I would give them those. Okay, so anyway, Okay, I'm gonna put one side, and the way I do it, the way I feed them, I would see, these are cardboard, and all these cardboard I use to feed them. And I'll show you how I do also how I break it down, make it soft. I'll show you in a little bit. But the way I usually feed them is that I put in whatever it is, chicken scrap, kitchen scrap, and rotten vegetable, even like this, for example, tea, right? Used tea. So I would feed them that too. Those are used tea right there. And when I do give them, when I do feed them, all right, and also check this out. This is eggshell. I grind it up, all right. I dry them and then I grind them up. Eggshell, so they'll eat those. But I grind up so break it down for them easier. Those are really good for them. And then I've been keeping these in the refrigerator for a while. See how these they already got some moisture and water, they're coming out from the vegetable. When they rotten, they show those. Look at that. So like, you see, like I got carrot in here. I got all sorts of stuff. But here's the thing. I would put in one spot, one location, and the reason why is like, I don't know if it's gonna overheat or not, so I would put it just one location, and then I would cover it up. And the reason I cover it up is because I don't want other animals to come in, because if you leave on top, you get a lot more bugs and animals that come in. They would lay their eggs and stuff like that. You see all this fly, tiny little fly, they're starting to come already. So I would cover it up and try to cover as much odor as possible. Like that, right? I cover as much as possible, just to help, prevent from more bugs and more stuff getting in. Oh wow, let me see, I think there's a lot of movement here. Look at that. Oh my gosh. See that? See, that's how you know your bin is healthy, because the worms, they're really active. They're not just like lying there and look like they're dying or something. Yeah. Let's see. Man, sometimes I dig them up and they're like a chunk, like a bunch of them. But anyway, they're multiplying like crazy. Like I said, like half of the population died, and if it wasn't for that, I mean, this would be a lot more. See that? So I don't really use them for worm casting, but I do sometimes take out and feed it to, use it for my plant. But that's not my main purpose. My main purpose is for go fishing. For fishing. So okay. So that's that bin, all right? And let me show you what I do with the cardboard. So this is the cardboard. I soak it, and I just leave it there, and I soak it. You see that? And they rotten in there. I mean, they get stinky. I mean, you might want to use a glove if you're gonna go in this. I don't really care. I just go and wash my hand later with soap and stuff like that. But they do stink up because they're rotten. See, they're falling apart. Look at how easy they fall apart. All right. So the way I feed them, I would squeeze the water out. All right. I squeeze the water out as much as I can, and then I just come here and I Just put it like, I could just leave it alone, or you could break it down a little more and just to help them out. But you could just leave it, and you know that's all you do. And you know, I kind of balance it out. Okay, there's no, I don't have any hole in the bottom or anything, so I don't need to drain the water or anything like that because I keep it moist. It's already moist. I do monitor it sometime, like, you know, check it out, check, you know, just in case, like if the weather's kind of too hot or whatever, then I'll take a look to see if it dry up or not. But so far, nothing dried up, you know. So, and I'll show you the other one in a little bit. And I actually use a shirt to cover it up to keep the moisture in. Okay, so that's done, right? So I'm gonna put back that. So that's all, see? And the reason I use the net is only because I want to keep other creature out. You know, I don't want a bunch of stuff coming in there and lay their eggs, and I would get maggots and stuff like that before, like flies and all sorts of stuff. They fly in there and then lay the egg, and I would get a bunch of maggots. So that's that, right? So I put this back. Okay. So just cover that, right? So this is just, you know, it's just a separation. So since there's some room, I could put some more junks in here. So I just put some junk, but you know, it's just for separation, to separate it. So if the other one, if I put that directly on top, there's no vent. So you know that wouldn't be good. So I use this as a separation and also vent for them. So you know, plenty of air, plenty of ventilation. Okay, so time to put that on top. So I'm showing you this. Look at this. Remember I told you could use a cardboard or something to cover it, so kind of keep the moisture in. And this is what I did. I got a bag, and I got my old t-shirt. You know, my old t-shirt I was going to throw away anyway, so it doesn't fit anymore, so I use it for this. Okay, this, remember I told you there's like 3 worms, and I don't know what's going on in this bin. I don't know if there's any more. I see some worm here. This small one. I don't even know if that's a red wriggler or one of those worms that I was try to have them produce. I'll dig it up and see if I could find one. There's only 3 of them in here. Oh, here we go. Found it. Look at this. Look, this is huge, right? This one is big. Look at that. And this Vietnamese they call it Jungwei. And if you guys know what these are, please let me know, because I don't know. Are they night crawler or what are they? Look at this. Huge. Alright. So this one, I got 3 of them, and I don't know if they ever lay egg or produce anything, because I don't see anything else. See, these are too small and I can't tell. This might be just a red wriggler. Here's another one. So I can't really tell what they are. I think this might be another red wriggler here. So there's some other worm in here, and alright guys, I just put everything back. You know, put everything back already. Clean up, wash my hand. So anyway, so let's talk about some of this tip. What I did, what I learned from all those mistakes and lost half the population, the red wriggler. When you start your bedding, You could use just like newspaper. You want shred newspaper, cardboard, and I find like for some reason like the red wriggler they love those cardboard that like beer cardboard and stuff like that. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, they love cardboard. But that's not the only thing you could use. But if let's say I mean the easiest thing and the cheapest, yeah, get cardboard or paper, whatever you can find like that, and use as bedding. I think it's really cheap. That's the easiest way to go, right? And that's how I started it. I didn't use anything else. So I don't know, because here in Vietnam it's kind of hard for me to find stuff. So I just did that, and I started out with that, and then I put like vegetable and stuff like that in there. Anything like I can recycle from the kitchen, I just dump it in there, and that's how I started my my bedding. So, but anyway, here's a tip for bedding, and it's probably one of the most important tip that you probably consider. I mean, like you not consider, but you must do. Okay, and this is gonna save you a lot of headache down the road. Because you could lose some worm just because you start out your bedding and you do it the wrong way. So here's the thing: it doesn't matter what you put in there. This is what happened, right? I had like a different bin. It was like about this high, and what I did was it was doing really well. I mean, it was growing and it was healthy, really healthy bin. But like I told you in the beginning, right? I'm the type of guy that I don't like maintenance, so and not that I'm lazy. I just want to do things and forget about it, and everything I do, that's kind of like I'm very passive. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing things. So with that bin, it was doing really, really well, extremely well. And then what happened was I got carried away, right? Like one day, one of the restaurant that I go to, and then they were putting out like a bunch of kitchen scrap, like all the stuff that left over, like the vegetable and all that stuff. So they throw away, and they're like, "Huge bag, right?" So I saw that, and I asked them for it, and they gave it to me. And I came home, and I kind of, thought feeding them a little bit of time, and then like it was rotten and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna dump the whole thing and forget about it, right? So I dumped the whole thing in there, and then I just kind of forget about it. And then a couple of days, lucky I was looking, like checking it like a couple of days later, right? So a couple of days later, I was checking, all this worm was crawling out. Like, what's going on? And I didn't realize it, but those vegetables start to heat up. They decompose, and they start to heat up. And so it was really, really hot. I mean, it was really bad, right? So anyway, that's the biggest mistake. Never overfeed your worm, right? Never put like a bunch of whatever it is you try to feed them. Don't put a bunch of them in there. I overloaded, right? And I just left in. I didn't know. So anyway, and then I try to use a fan, cool it down, but then as soon as you turn off the fan, it's heat up again. And I try turning it and all that. None of that helped. I have to take everything out and start like a new bin and put them back in and kind of keep the old bin, until it cool down. So that's the trick. That's where I learned about this thing, right? If you're gonna start your new bin, right, always give it a period of time to cool down, like to stabilize. When you start your new bedding, your new bin, and you have your bedding, it doesn't matter what you put in there, right? I don't really care. Like, if you put a bunch of vegetable, you put a bunch of stuff that could possibly heat up, it's okay because there's no worm in there. Do it. It's okay in the beginning. You could do that and just leave it alone. Let it cool down. Want to stabilize? Then you put your worm in, and you'll be fine. And they have plenty of food in there, right? And that's probably the biggest secret to successfully growing your worm. And also when I feed them, like all the kitchen scrap, I put in the freezer or I leave it in the refrigerator. And if I put in the freezer, it's even better. You put it in the freezer. Some people blend them. I don't blend it because I don't see any reason to blend it. I just leave it alone because once you put it in the freezer and then you dump it in for them, it's just gonna rot real fast anyway. It's just like water coming out from there and all that stuff, and it's plenty of moisture. So I just leave it alone. The only thing is like my concern is like if you see it's too wet, right? If it's too wet, that's why I have these cardboard around. I don't put everything, dump it in and soak them off because I leave them around. Because if it get too wet, I would shred some of this, I would tear them up, and I would put it in kind of, mix them so that way, it kind of soaks some of those, water, moisture. So that's the only thing, absorb some of those water, but that's the only thing you might concern about if it get too wet. But don't overdo it. Like just leave it. Also, when let's say you see it too wet, you could you don't have to cover it up to keep the moisture in. Just leave the cover open. Just use a net and cover it up so other stuff doesn't fly in or lay the eggs and you get all this maggot and stuff like that, right? So you could just leave the cover open and the moisture will come out and eventually it dry up a little bit and then you cover it back up. So it's not a big deal. But for me, I have not have any issue with it too wet or anything like that at all, because like I don't feed them like too much to the point where it's all soaked and stuff like that. Overheating problem, right? Like if it's you overfeed them and they're crawling out, and if one or two crawling out and it's not because overheating problems, let's say one or two crawling out, that could be they're just wandering around. I mean, worm, they do that. They kind of crawl. They don't crawl out, but they kind of crawl to the top and then they kind of move around and they come back down. But if you see a bunch of them coming up towards the lid, right, and try to get out, then your bin have some issue. And so let's say if it's overheating problem, most likely there's nothing you can really do about that, because you could try to get some of those food out, right? Get it out as much as you can and wait for it to cool down. So that's one thing you can do. Get all those out. And if you can't get it out, then you're gonna maybe want to move them to a new bin, right? Or if you're saying, hey, look, I can't do any of that stuff, then get a fan just constantly blowing at it. That's the only thing you can do. That's what I did. But as soon as you turn off the fan, it starts heating up again. So if you don't want to leave the fan on, start a new bin, move them over, right? And let that bin cool down. And maybe then you could move some back and have two bins. Another thing is you gotta get those food out. There's too much of them. Get it out, put in a bucket, put it somewhere else, and then let it cool down. Then feed them, then put it back in for them to eat. So those are the only thing you can do. If you keep leaving them there, they'll keep on crawling out because it's heating up. You gotta wait until it cool down, and you don't know how long it's gonna take to cool down. So that's what I did. I even try to put more cardboard in there to soak some of that stuff. It doesn't work. I mean, waste of time. It's just too much work, and it filled up my whole entire bin, and it still heat up. So it's not a good idea. Okay. So one, get all those food back out, right? Get all those food back out. Leave just enough for them to eat, and then once it cool down, put it back in, and then or move them to a new bin. Start a new bin and move them to a new bin, or use a fan and keep blowing at it. If you don't mind using the fan, keep blowing at it. Do that. That will help it cool down on top. So they'll stay somewhere on top. That's what they'll do. They'll stay on top. And so those are the only thing you can do really. So let's see. Anyway, so that is my those are my worm bin, and I use them for fishing. And sometimes I do get the worm casting and throw into my aloe vera plants. But anyway, that's about it. I don't really use it for worm casting, but for fishing, I definitely do. And today I'm showing you my worm bin, and maybe when all this lockdown's over, I'm gonna show you where I go get where I dig up my worm, and it's like at one of those cow farm, and like I actually go into the manure and actually get those worms, and there's a lot of them. But anyway, So, but then I don't want to go there all the time, and so that's why I grow my own worm. So like sometime I'm too lazy to go dig them up, so then I just get my worm. But if let's say this all depends, so let's say I'm in a hurry, I can't go down there, then I use my worm here. So that's why I have it. It's for convenience, and I'm hoping that by next year it will be double and they're a lot bigger. So it's gonna be, then I'm gonna have plenty for fishing. I don't even have to go to dig them up in the cow manure. So anyway, yeah. So if you find these tips helpful, give me a like, subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna have maybe when I go, one this day I'm gonna go to the worm, not the worm, the cow farm, and then I'm gonna dig them up and show you like it's just tons of worm. I mean tons and tons of worm. If you get lucky, it's not always like that, but yeah. So anyway, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And thanks for watching.